taking us through the last two columns.
Now the last, yes. Yeah, basically the last column and comparing it to the middle column. All right. So
What are the last ones?
these, the green.
No, the 3 stars.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. The 3 stars, that uses the traditional method of P values. Yeah. So 3 stars is 0.001 on the P value of significance. 2 stars is 0.01. 1 star is 0.05.
We were loose.
Don't go there.
So the green are the 2 activity variables, and the blue, I guess it's blue, are the 2 output variables. So you can see in terms of activity, very strong negative results. Also negative results for the output, not as strong, they're not even significant, although they're getting near significance. And again, we were surprised that there was no positive result for any of these, even at the low levels of density. For core closure then, again, we found negative results. 3 of the 4 were negative, although they weren't as strong as in group density. You can see only 1 here had a single star, which is a 0.05 level, and the other 2 were near significant. So we did see the negative, but not as strong, suggesting that maybe compared to the group closure, we maybe are seeing some positive benefits that say within the core subgroup, you do need some level of interaction, but it's not enough to have any kind of a positive early segment. So it did moderate the negative, but it really didn't produce any kind of positive effect.
So does this mean that basically the less people talk to each other, the higher the success
That's
rates?
exactly right. The less they densely talk. I mean, there is conversation. Well,
I think let's hold that to the
that's going to be a long discussion.
Long discussion.
Yeah, it's going to be a long discussion.
Let's not go there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We won't thank you. We won't get into this next talk. You're in trouble with this. Okay. Now, we did find this U shape, and the quadratic regression also finds U shape. So it's this kind of shape. And actually, if you look at the scatter plot, there's really only probably 10 or so projects that cause a little upturn at the end. And we suspect that these are qualitatively different. These may be individuals that actually know each other. So in some respects, it may be a kind of a virtual team that just happens to use SourceForge to get some work done. So in some respects, we think it's a different kind of animal, but we don't know for sure. We don't have access to the data to find out. And that could be subject for future research. Now, the peripheral 2-mode closure, this is the closure between the periphery and the core. Notice here, we have no significant relationships. 1 is negative, but it's quite weak. So here we're saying, you know what, we thought we'd see some positive benefits attached to this core periphery connection. And considering that this is really kind of a subset of closure, so we know from the other slides that closure seems to be bad, but in this case, closure at least is not important. So maybe that's the offset of some of these positive benefits. So what's happening with closure? Why is this? And basically, if you step back and you say, look, let's understand that this open source process involves assembling software from these many incremental contributions by these people who independently kind of self-manage, they choose their own tasks, work at their own pace. We knew ahead of time that open source tools do reduce the need for interaction, but we didn't realize the extent to which it actually apparently minimizes the required level of density, and that the smoothly functioning, this bazaar-like process, for it to function smoothly, you can't have that kind of interaction. You can't have a lot of crosstalk. You can have one-on-one talk, and so that's what we're getting at. It's not about total conversation volume. It's about how many people have to get involved in conversations. That's what density is about. That's what closure is. So what this is saying is that it's really this host platform that is minimizing the need for density. We already talked about the modular software design as part of the platform, but some of the other explanations that came out of this really began that the notion of the platform is more than just the modularity of the software. It's really kind of the whole, think about it. When you're participating in one of these project communities, you're sitting in front of a screen. So what is in that screen? Well, basically, when you go to the project, there's certain affordances you have, and there's certain constraints. And And that's basically what the host platform is. It's a set of affordances and constraints. So it consists of the software, first of all. The source code is there. It has a certain design to it. There's forums. There's documentation. So for example, if there's good documentation, there's no need for a lot of cross-discussion. If there's not, there's going to be some problems. If there's good, clear rules. So rules are part of the platform. It's the whole thing that you see when you come online. So good rules, no problems. Problems with the rules, you're going to have controversies and the need for these cross communications. So basically then, the image that comes out of this is if you have a platform which can minimize density of conversation, you can pull this off. You can smoothly function in this kind of environment. And if you have problems, you're going to increase the conversational density. So think if the software design is a problem, you're going to have coding interdependencies now. You make a change in one area, it's going to affect another area. Now you have the need for a lot of discussion, and not just point-to-point discussions involving multiple people. Think of when a rule changes and controversies arise. Now everybody gets involved in discussing who can do what, why is this, why can't I do that? So problems then can be reflected in terms of increased density. We also note that if the platform can enable this kind of sparse conversational network, it also supports the psychological needs of the hackers, and the hackers are the ones that are the very competent coders who basically like to code all night writing software, and they're known for not wanting to socialize a lot. So, what are you saying? No, we won't call them that. They're highly proficient people. So, but it's true is that this is more supportive of that kind of a psychological profile. So it supports them, it doesn't distract them, it can further even motivate. Now, limitation, we do recognize that maybe we're not picking up all the conversational ties. Maybe there's some things going on in emails and instant messaging and so forth. But in open source, one of the strong norms is open and transparent communication. And in fact, one of the open source licenses